The Geek Girl Riot. Geek Girl Riot.
Welcome, dearest darling listener. Tonight, you are privileged to attend a ball, as in having one, with me, the Lady Whimsnicole, the Lady Maefield, and the Lady Bearmont, coming to you from the Taunton, as in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital, with a little touch of Essex. That's right. This is Shireen and May and Alex. Say hello, ladies.
Hi, hello, ladies.
And we are coming to you with an episode that we call To Bridgerton Mostly with Love. There's a reason why, because we're going to talk about it. We always do. You like it when we talk about it. At least we hope you do. And if you don't, stay anyway, because we like the numbers. Right. So in our first segment, we're just going to get into like the Bridgerton state of events, or state of affairs, I should say, and leading into season 3. And then we'll talk a little bit about season 3. So this will be our longest segment, but we are all romance readers. So that's something really important we want to say to you guys, is that a lot of people think that Bridgerton is a historical drama. It is not. It is a historical romance, and it's set up like a historical romance. And when we feel like we're not getting what we want from Bridgerton, it's because it strays back into drama away from romance. But Bridgerton, as you know, if you've listened to our shows from every season that it's been on air, is really about, it's a romance exclusivity, as I like to call it. It's an inclusive romance. It's a historical romance. And it has all the beats and chapters that romance novels have, based on the series by Julia Quinn. We are romance aficionados. Yeah, I said it. I don't know if I'll regret that later, but here we are. And so we have a different take than maybe most of your critics might have. Would you guys agree with that?
I think so. Probably, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. Who wants to give us the Bridgerton state of affairs? Anyone? Raise your hand. No one? I gotta do it.
I think it'll get too messy, so you should probably do it.
Okay, to keep it brief, we were introduced to the Bridgertons by Shondaland. The first season was, I think, show run by Chris Van Dusen. I might be pronouncing that terribly, but you guys will fix it in post. Well, not in post. We'll fix it in the post is what I mean. And the series really struck us, all of us, because this was the first time, other than 365 D&I, that we got an actual romance on the screen. And what we mean is romance novel. We've gotten romantic dramas, of course we have. We've gotten historical dramas, of course. But what we had never had was something that had all of the beats and the moments that romance has, as in romance novels. And it's a huge part of the publishing industry. So we were taken with Bridgerton. We were also taken by its purposefully, this is not colorblind casting, you guys. This is purposefully inclusive casting. There is a difference. And that just bowled us over. So we were very excited to have that. Very excited to get a dark-skinned woman lead in season 2. You know, we had a black man lead in season 1. We had our amazing Queen Charlotte. We had a lot of people of color, although we haven't had enough Asian folk. We'll get there later. Definitely haven't had any Middle Eastern folk. We'll also get to that later. But we did have inclusivity in a way that we've never seen historically. And that was great. We got a dark-skinned lead in the second season. Based on the books by Julia Quinn, each one season follows one of the novels. The first one was The Duke and I, which was Daphne and Simon. The second season was To the Viscount with Love, The Viscount Who Loved Me, something like that.
But The Viscount Who Loved Me.
It was Anthony/Antony, depending on whether you're reading or watching, along with Kate, dark-skinned, brown woman. Really happy to see that. And now we're into season 3, which is, I think it's the 4th book. Season 3 is the 4th book, and it's like Loving Mr. Bridgerton or something like that, which is the story, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. Thank you, darling. And it is the story of Penelope and Colin. It is a story that none of the 3 of us cared about. Am I right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say not cared about, but was not excited for.
Yeah. I'm simply okay with. Sure.
Aggressively okay. Like we were just like, Colin, Colin, Colin. I was so over it. And now Colin has returned and he has no buccal fat, as Alex is saying. Or Alex, tell us what Colin's main expression is. What did you call it?
Oh, blue steel. He's doing a little Zoolander, doing a little justified. Yeah.
And a lot of the fandom has commented on this, from Duckface to Blue Steel to handsome Squidward. Oh, this poor man. It's really not his fault. He's just trying so hard to be a sexy bounder that it's just...
Anyway, one of the interviews, he's like, oh yeah, I watched Jonathan Bailey throughout like season 2, and he's like, oh, is that about like you're watching me about how to become a leading man, and this is the result? This is the result.
Oh no, it's right, because listen, the last thing you want to do is try to be Jonathan Bailey. That is not a bingo card, okay? That is not. He's too damn good. Like, the man is too good. I would have never known he was gay. When he's gay, like on Fellow Traveler, you're convinced he's gay, which he is. And when he's straight, like on Bridgerton, you are convinced he's straight, which he is not. And I think the man is an actor. He's also intrinsically sexy. Like, even when he's playing like an over-the-top, like, super queen, he's still sexy. Okay, not that super queens are sexy. They're just not sexy to me. But somehow, Jonathan Bailey pulls it off. So the last person you want to emulate is him, because it's too hard.
It is. He was doing the work.
So all of that leads us to season 3, which is our least inclusive season because our 2 leads are both. Well, I guess it is kind of inclusive because for the first time we're getting. I don't know what we say anymore. Some people have objected to fat, but like Nicola Coughlan is a sexy, like, voluptuous woman, and gorgeous, and would certainly have been one of the most sought after and desired women of the time.
Right.
That was true.
But based on modern day kind of things, it is almost inclusive. And Nicola Coughlan said she made a big thing about making sure that, first of all, her character, Penelope, doesn't lose weight like she did in the books. And that there was some nudity, there was some nude scenes in there so that she could tell the body shamers to suck it. And to that we say, we bite our thumbs at you, body shamers, you bastards, like you. And so, so in that way, it is kind of inclusive because we haven't gotten it before. And even though they paint Pen as a wildflower and awkward, they never talk about her weight, or at least that I remember, which I find to be a good thing. And I've been talking way too freaking much. So y'all jump in. Do what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I love that they kept it that way because it does say a lot. And I didn't realize how much, I should have assumed there was a lot of hate because people are kind of assholey. But she's put in the work this season. I really, really love her character arc. I think overall, like, I'm rooting for her romance because I love Penelope, not because of Colin. I want her to have it the same way. He's sort of just, there.
Yeah, and it's not I don't think it's the actor's fault, but I think that they made kind of a mistake because I've read a bit of the books. I don't think I've read as much as you may, but in the books, Colin, for the whole thing, is the most charming Bridgerton. He's the one everybody loves and everybody just is like enamored with, and he has the most beautiful eyes out of all of them. There's these things. But when they did the show, they made him the friendly, shy, quiet, soft one. And
he's supposed to be more funny too, and which was interesting to me. Because I'm like, sometimes he cracks a joke or two, but it's nothing that I would really call funny. Like, I wouldn't describe him as such. No,
not at all. And so I think they should have kept him more like the book, because turning him into this kind of, worldly man with a sturdy chest, it doesn't work. Alex, what are your thoughts?
For me, it doesn't. Like when I first watched it, I didn't really get it at all. I was like, I was just a bit like, I love Penn. I'm here for Penn. But then
Yes.
Colin, I was just like, And then, obviously we watched it before it came out. And then obviously it reached the internet. And the internet are like, oh, well, no, he was pretending to be a rake and this worldly dude and things. And I'm like, okay, I didn't get that. Personally,
No.
like, watching it again with that opinion in my mind, I was a bit more like, okay, I see what they were trying to go for, but for me, it didn't work personally.
Yeah, I feel like if they'd set it up a little bit more in previous seasons, then it would have worked better. Because, I mean, to me, he's just like this lost soul. He just wanted to travel to sort of find himself, and because he I don't know, he didn't feel like he had anything back home, but it still didn't feel like a fully formed story for me. And I don't know if it's like the writing or like the portrayal or both that didn't stick out in a way where it's like, yes, I feel bad for you because, you have to act this way or something like that. It just didn't ring 100% true.
It really does. I think they should have kept him the nerdy, bookish one. And then, much like Chidi in The Good Place, when he took off his shirt, we should have been like, damn, we didn't know. That would have been, I think, so much more of a thrill than them trying to have him be dashing, which is not in him. And to Alex's point, I didn't catch the whole he's doing it on purpose, but to hide his soft, squishy center, because again, Anthony and also Benedict do that so much better. They give us the layers of the guy that they're pretending to be for the world and the God who exists underneath. They're giving it to us, and there's none of that layering with Colin. So
yeah, sorry, go ahead. What else is that we've had two rakes, like we had Simon and then we had Anthony, even if they were, pretending to be that. Why couldn't Colin be softer? And it would make a whole lot more sense where he's so against Lady Whistledown. I'm like, if he was softer, that would be so scandalous for him because he couldn't imagine someone being that awful.
Right, hurting other people in that way so cavalierly. I agree. They should have gone, because also Michael, Francesca's eventual love, is also the biggest rake of the rakes. And I'm like, I'm done with rakes. Like, I love the rake, but can we get a rogue? Can we get a scoundrel?
Yeah, I didn't need to see that either. It almost felt like, oh, we had to get him to a point where he was sort of experienced sexually or something like that for this romance to work. I'm like, I don't know. I find that to be untrue. Like, we don't need to see that. I didn't need to see that on my screen.
No, because he could be very good at the sex from and still be nerdy. Like, it's not
Exactly.
like there's like, come on, man. Like, I think that they really missed on that one. But let's talk about the first part of season 3, because you know that it's in 2 parts. We get the second part next month in June. We got the first part, of course, here in the middle of May. What are y'all's feelings about the season as a whole? And can I just bring in one more point and say that when Violet was like, oh, Colin, my most selfless child, always doing for everybody else. When?
He's been on a gap year for 3 seasons straight.
When has he been looking out for everyone else? Like, that would have been great if they wrote that he was behind the scenes like he is in the books, doing little stuff to help everybody, but not this Colin. This Colin is all about finding a lady. The man asks every woman that turns his head to marry him. I'm sorry, but he does.
Since season 1.
So how do you guys feel about part 1 of season 3 as a whole?
I liked it for the most part. I mean, I'm trying to recalibrate my thoughts, but I had to rewatch it. I wanted to rewatch it twice because the first time through it didn't have any subtitles. So I was like, oh no, I have to rewatch it again. Because I obsessed with watching it with subtitles because that's when I pick up everything. And there's always so much going on with this show in terms of storylines and characters and things like that. So I want to be able to absorb everything. And so I really liked it the second time around, especially because I feel like I had just rewatched season 2, and so I was still thinking about season 2, and I wasn't in the headspace. So watching it the second time around really struck me more, and I was really vibing the, Colin pretending to help, or not pretending to help, helping Penelope try to find a husband, and Penelope wanting to find a husband so she can get out of her sister's shadows and her mother's shadow, and, have sort of some control in her life where she didn't feel like she had control before. And so I like that part especially because I feel like that's when we got more nerdy Colin, in the sense that like he was just sort of this adorable person trying to help a friend versus the steamy, sexy blue steel thing that he was going for later. And so I really liked that for the most part. And I know I've heard some complaints that they rushed it, but they've been building this for 2 seasons so far. So I feel like waiting until the end of the season for them to get together wouldn't have made any sense. So I like the fact that they sort of got together fairly quickly so that we can get to the meat of the tension that's going to be between them, which is Lady Whistledown. And I think that they built on that really well also. And like, I'll talk about Eloise and Cressida's friendship later, but that's what I feel about Penelope Collins' storyline so far.
Everybody is talking about Eloise and Cressida's friendship. And like, Alex, your turn.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. Like when I first watched it, I was kind of watching being like, please don't ruin it. Please don't ruin it. And then like I found the first 3 episodes were kind of actually slow. Like people saying they rushed it, but there wasn't enough, I don't know, build up for me. Episode 4 was where it started to really take off personally. But I enjoyed it. I found the pacing was a little bit slow. And so the main storyline for me at that point was not super interesting compared to, like, I did prefer Francesca and John and the other side quests that were going on.
Yeah, I mean, Francesca and John for me are the central part of the season. And also, I like what Violet's got going on.
Right.
I'm like, let Violet have a gardener for her blooms, okay? She needs tending. So I really do like that part. I like that we're seeing some of the breakdown of Lady Danbury's armor, where she has feelings. She's been hurt. She has regrets, but she is angry about some of the things that have happened in her life. And I like seeing that. I mean, I would like to know what happened to Reynolds, because Brimley and Reynolds bring me joy. But I don't know if we're ever going to get that. I want to talk about Debling a bit, but I mean, we're running down, but everybody's like, listen, as modern women, Lord Debling would be a dream. It's like, yes, you go. I will spend all your money, sir. I've gone like, wow.
Fantastic.
Like years at a time. Yes, sir. And thank you. I shall manage it. But in that world where Penelope wants to be loved and adored for who she is, she wants a partner who sees the beauty in art, because she's not a nature girl. Debling is offering her that bullshit. And I find it really strange to me that people are like, oh my God, she should have chosen Debling because he's so honest. Yes, he's honest. He's honestly telling her, I am going to leave your ass, but you can't even have a side piece. While I'm away, you still got to have my babies. You can't even get you a little something because I am a selfish bastard. Y'all need to, like, not y'all. I'm talking about y'all already know. But everybody out there, you have to watch Debling and pay attention to what he's actually offering, right? He's not really offering her anything romantic or loving. He wants to use her.
100%. Yeah, he can't provide her with what she wants. And he seems, very proper and gentlemanly and all that stuff. And I think that she needed him to be there to realize that she didn't just want to find any husband, really, Yeah. So that was important, but I do feel like, Debling is, first of all, can we talk about the fact that he looks like he walked off Frozen? Because this man, I was like, oh my God, he's just so blonde. I don't know what to do with this.
What is the character's name? Because he does look like the older version of that character, the one that Anna falls in love with.
Yes. And you mentioned that he looked like if Kristoff and Olaf had a baby. But yeah, he does look like that. But I mean, I do appreciate his honesty. I think he's a great character. But yeah, he was definitely not in it to find love. He was in it to fulfill whatever duty he wanted to fulfill and then just be off for like 2-3 years.
Yes.
Which would suit Cressida more than Penelope for sure.
Right? Oh my gosh. And he wouldn't worry about a lady friend. But we're going to get into that. We're going to get there. But this is Shireen and
May.
And Alex.
Your ladies, Whimsnicole, Maefield, and Bearmont, talking about Bridgerton as a whole, but especially Bridgerton Season 3, and we shall return. You're back on Geek Girl Riot for our Bridgerton, or actually it's two Bridgerton, mostly with love. It's an episode with me, your lady Whimsnicole, and
May, Lady Maefield.
And Alex, Lady Bearmont.
And we're just discussing all the feelings that we have about Bridgerton, which we love for the most part, but we do have some questions, okay? So in segment 2, we're just kind of following up. So we started or ended talking about Lord Debling and whether or not what he's offering Penelope is a good deal. And then we got into the fact that for Cressida, it would be a good deal. May, tell us why you think so.
Well, because she wants to be married so that she can basically have something of her own life, have control over her own life, and not constantly be made to feel shame for not having married in her 3rd year out. So I feel like it's a perfect situation for her because she'll get to do whatever she wants in her life, and Debling will be away. Because I don't think that Cressida necessarily wants love like Penelope. So I think it's like the perfect situation for her. But then there's her friendship with Eloise, which I find quite fascinating because it was such a surprise to learn that they had befriended each other after Cressida, was mean to Penelope and even Eloise earlier in the season, in previous seasons. So that was a nice surprise, and I liked what we got so far, and I feel like it's building towards something in the second half, maybe towards, I don't know, Penelope and Eloise getting back together as friends. But I feel like I also wanted more from them in terms of like, people were saying, oh, well, is there going to be like a romance here? And I could see it, but I've already seen too much of the future. I won't say anymore.
I mean, you can say some things if you're referencing the books are out there. We can't do nothing about that.
Yeah. I wouldn't, I don't know if I can support that anymore.
And it's funny because can I just say, without ever having read the books, I called it. I knew. I knew. And we're going to talk about what we would want out of Bridgerton coming up in segment 3. But for this segment, somebody mentioned this, and I think it's true. They said that seasons 1 and 2 were focused on the central couple. They were your leads. Everything revolved around them, and that was like part of the joy of the romances. Where they said that they feel like season 3, it's more of an ensemble thing. There's too much taken away from Penelope and from Colin, or Pollen as they're called, as a couple. And I have to say, going back to what Alex said, I kind of feel that because shouldn't we have gotten more of kind of this forced proximity of Colin trying to help Penelope? First of all, asking her what she wanted. Hello. What do you want? What are you looking for? Okay, let's try to figure out how to get that man, not just randomly how to talk to strangers at a ball, but really in-depth understanding of each other, which would have led to a greater sense of romance rather than another case of Colin going, you is pretty. I want you. When we got with Marina, and I think that is lacking in this first part. And having seen 6 episodes as we all have, it kind of keeps lacking.
Yeah, there's there hasn't been any moments in the 4 episodes that are out that have really made me go like, oh, this is a hot romance. This is steamy. Like, even the carriage scene,
It's the only one. Yeah.
yeah, like that was kind of the only time where I was like, oh, okay, this is actually happening now. But before that, like, the lead up wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't there for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
it wasn't as steamy. Sorry, continue.
Okay. Whereas like Francesca and John, I'm like, they haven't even touched or kissed. I'm already invested in their relationship. You know? Like,
They are my
chemistry between
precious
them.
babies.
Right? The chemistry between them is great. And I'm not saying the chemistry between Colin and Penn isn't there. It just, the storyline hasn't quite amplified it yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they tried to do steamy in some aspect. Like, I think my favorite part for Colin was the scene where he interrupts her dance debbling. Because I feel like it was, it was intense, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? In this very moment, things could get very dramatic. People are watching. I think that was really great for them, but I don't know that it was ever going to be that steamy, mostly because of Colin. Because, with Anthony and Kate, you had like these very two intense people. And I don't feel like that is necessarily replicated, at least on Colin's side, because I feel like Penelope has this internal confidence that she's just awakening to present publicly as well. Whereas he's trying to be intense and not getting there. Yeah. But I do agree that like John and Francesca's romance sort of came out of nowhere for me. It's like, oh, they're doing this season? And they shared what, maybe 4 or 5 scenes at the most in the first half, and I'm so smitten with that.
Oh my gosh. Smitten is the perfect word. Like, if you compare and contrast those two, and some people have said they're boring, and I'm like, clearly you don't understand chemistry, because what's happening between those two people, those little like side smiles and those exhalations,
and the eyes,
romance. That is romance. The way that Francesca's entire body language changes when John Sterling, the Earl of Kilmartin, enters the room. Babes, children, friends, lovers. This is what we want from a romance. Her whole body uplifts. Her smile. And Violet, what are you doing, Violet? Help us understand what the issue is, because I don't get it. Like, you want somebody to bring Francesca out of her shell, but that's what John does, just not in the way that you want. When he finally tells his story about missing what was there. Oh, wait, is that later? Wait, is that in the first 4 episodes? I don't think it is. I'm going to put out now. Oh, see, when he does a story about missing what's been there all along, and it's just like, you get why people love this relationship so much. And you're like, what's going to happen with Michael? Okay, so let me give y'all one of my theories. They made so much about the actor playing John, and we know what's coming. And most of y'all know, if you're Bridgerton fans, you know that in the books, John, can I say it? Is it okay for me to say it, you guys?
I think it's fine. The books have been out for like 17 years.
Yeah. Okay, so in the book, John dies in the very beginning of the book, and then his cousin Michael becomes Francesca's lead. What they need to do here, because they cannot replace this man. His name is something Ali or Ali something. He cannot be replaced. They must give us identical twin brothers. I'm sorry. I usually don't go for that sort of thing, but I need it. I need to see him flip it and be the other side. And I need to see her shock when she realizes he has this brother who's been away, who is, Lord help us. Maybe can they just make him a scoundrel? Can we just avoid the rakes? But anyway, I'm hoping that that's what they're going to do, because who else is going to have that kind of chemistry with Francesca other than this, where there's very little spoken? And Alex, you had something that you loved about them as far as how they're coded.
Yeah, I feel like they're neurodivergent coded. Just the way that they interact, the way that they don't feel like they fit into society, the way that even Violet reacts to them you know, that is constantly, oh, you need to bring it out of their shell. I have heard that my entire life. Okay. And so I resonated so hard with that. And I'm like, when you find the right person, it doesn't matter because you guys are in your own little world, you know? Like when you find someone that you are comfortable with, it's okay that you have silence. It's okay because it's not, you're sharing something different to just constant declarations of love and constantly having to be loud all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's a great point. And I feel like it's interesting too because with the Violet aspect, because she's so used to having her children be these extroverted, I'll say my opinions constantly, you know, and having to struggle in a different way, whereas Francesca is a little bit of a mystery to Violet because she doesn't necessarily say what she says what she wants, but she's not like so outspoken about it all the time, or as loud as the rest of her siblings. So it's like a parenting struggle, and I find that very fascinating compared to Violet's role in previous seasons.
Yeah, they're really diverging from what I know about the books. Francesca is a completely different person. Colin is a completely different person, and the order that things are happening are very different. It's hard to tell where we're going to get Eloise. And of course, Gregory and RIOTUS, I think those actors are too young to take over leading roles in romance. So I don't know if they're going to do the same thing they did with Francesca, which is to recast the role, or if they're just going to push it off for years until they get older. I really can't tell what's going to happen there or if the show will even make it that far, because making it to that many seasons, although Shonda is an expert at making a show last your whole life. I'm talking about Grey's Anatomy, our whole lives, the entirety of our lives. So it's interesting to see, but I think about the scene on the couch. Well, like when I think about the love scenes, season 1 and season 2, the few that we got in season 2, they all bring me joy, except for that one where Daphne, you know, that consent issue in that one with Daphne. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, the scenes when I think about them, I blush. I'm like, but when I think about the scenes other than the Carrie scene, and everybody's making a big deal about where Colin's fingers were, that's where your fingers go. That's where they go. But I'm just kidding. But that Carrie scene is great, but I think about the scene on the Chase Divan, and it's so awkward and not sexy. Like, I want that mirror in the room to be steamed up. And wait, did we get there yet?
We have not gotten there yet.
Oh, well, that's a treat for all of you. Don't tell Bridgerton I said it. There's going to be a scene later that you're like, okay, maybe. They're just, for me, throughout everything that we've seen, they're just so awkward. And their chemistry, their friendship chemistry is better than their romance chemistry. And I don't know if they can fix that in the second half. And I don't know that people care. You know, we care in a different way from most. But then again, Alex and I have been like messaging back and forth. And a lot of people are seeing the same things the three of us are seeing. And they feel the same way we do. So we're not like aberrations.
Yeah. You know, and I think they tried hard to kind of be like, oh, it's friends to lovers, right? But they never really showed us the progression from that. You just went from 0 to 100. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix that.
I feel like if they had stuck with Benedict being next and given this season for Colin's personal development, that would have maybe been better for their romance, because then it would have been more established, especially on his end, because we always got, you know, Penn's feelings about him and what she was going through, but we didn't get so much his side of things. And Benedict was already at that point. It's like, also, I'm sort of lost. I don't really know what's going on in my life, blah, blah, blah. So putting that off is frustrating to me personally. So I feel like, Colin got just a little bit more, maybe it wouldn't have felt that way, even though, like, in general, I think it was all right what they're trying to do, but I do want a little bit more intensity when it comes to chemistry that I don't think that we're getting, or even just like playfulness, I suppose, you know?
Yes, some jokes, some laughter, some sneaking off to do whatever. It's not really there. There's no there. But I mean, a lot of people are liking it, but I wonder if they're liking it because they've wanted it for so long. And a lot of people are adding their feelings from the books to it as well, maybe. I'm not sure. But I do feel like I'm wondering why we're making Benedict more and more of a cad and more goofy. How do we switch him to leading man when he gets further and further away from those qualities? And he seems to be becoming less and less self-possessed.
Yeah. I sincerely hope the next season is about him, because I feel like if they keep postponing, then it's not going to be as exciting anymore, you know?
Yeah. I think the character is unraveling on screen. Like, we need to be able to at least see the hero in him. Like, I have to admit, we can see where Colin could turn into a hero, even though we don't feel like he's done it yet. We definitely could see where Anthony would turn into a hero. And with Simon, we just knew from the beginning. But I see Benedict getting further and further away from a romantic lead. And like, I don't see where the turn's going to take place.
Agreed. Very concerning, because I read something, I think this morning, where the showrunner is basically saying Benedict might not be the next person, or switching up things, you know, making things out of order again with the books like they did with this season. And I'm not happy about that, I gotta say.
Yeah, I want Benedict too. And if we don't get Benedict, then I want Francesca. Mm-hmm. And if whoever they're setting up for season 4 is a surprise, if it's a surprise, it can't be Francesca, because her story has been set up quite nicely. Like, this is a strong setup, because already if we lose John, we're all going to lose it. Well, we know we probably will lose him. So it's already strong. I don't know. Alex, any more thoughts? We got about a minute left on this segment.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they keep making him into like the kind of comic relief.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, well, there's a lot of drama, so let's make him have all the fun. And I'm like, okay. I think they're not entirely sure what to do with him, because, you know, he's very queer coded the way that they've made him. And obviously in the books, I don't think he is. I could be wrong, I haven't read them. So I think they're kind of like, how do we make him, you know, into his end game or happily ever after without kind of straying into, I guess, queer baiting. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with him.
You know, I don't think they can give him a gay romance at this point. Maybe they can. Maybe they'll be that bold, but I do think they can give him a queer romance. Mm-hmm. You know, like Sophie could be trans, which would be a queer romance, but she'd still be a woman. That is some ground that they would play in nicely. And for what I know about Sophie, she has a pure Cinderella story. So that could work. This is Whimsnicole and Maefield and Bearmont, and we'll be right back. You're back on Geek Girl Riot with Lady Whimsnicole and
Lady Maefield
and Lady Bearmont.
And we are discussing Bridgerton in depth, but we're all over the place because you're just meeting us for tea and we're just talking about it. So we're all over the place. When we get to the second half of season 3, we will, of course, be a little bit more buttoned up. But for now, we're just having a good time because you've seen it, we've seen it. Let's talk about it. So for this final segment of this episode, we're going to get into romance exclusivity. And what romance exclusivity is it is historical. It is inclusive historical romances on your screens or streaming. That's what it is. That is the core definition. And most historical dramas do not qualify. But Bridgerton does. Bridgerton is the leader, although I have said that the original leader is Cinderella 1997, starring Brandy, Whitney Houston, and Paolo Montalban. Fight the streets. Anyway, but we've gotten Mr. Malcolm's List. We've gotten the new Sense and Sensibility from Hallmark. We've gotten Sanditon. We've gotten the Spanish princess. We've gotten some stuff that definitely qualifies. So I wanted to talk about what makes romance exclusivity great briefly. And then we're going to end with what we want to see in the future of Bridgerton. So May, I'll start with you. And what makes romance exclusivity so juicy?
Yeah, I think it makes it so juicy because we just get to see people of color on screen, having full lives, being loved, getting to be in a space where they've never really been before. And I think that's exciting because, like, season 2 of Bridgerton is one of my personal favorites. And I love that because we get to see, like, a dark-skinned Indian woman be loved. You know, she was also had her own storyline of regarding her, like, her mom and where her place is in society. And I think that's really exciting and really relatable to me personally. So yeah, it's just really nice to see a space that has been very white be very inclusive, and we get these stories where, you know, we're not just like sideline characters, we're also the main characters, and we're getting this big sweeping romances and friendships and various different personal growth development storylines, and it's all just really, really nice, and I would like more of it, please.
Yeah, and they blend the culture, and like very much of Kate and Edwina and their mothers' lives was woven in with Indian culture. Even in season 3, a lot of Kate's clothing are like mashups between English clothing and Indian clothing, and I love it. You know, Alex, what about for you? What makes romance exclusivity great?
Yeah, just getting to see people of color be happy on screen, like joyful. You know, I think we've gotten so many, you know, quote unquote historical shows, films, whatever, and it's always about like how dark can it go, you know? Like if there's people of color in it, it's always just, they always just have the worst endings because they're like, oh, it's historically accurate, and I'm like, okay, where's all the body hair on the women then? Like, you don't have to be historically accurate about everything. And also, people of color existed. Like, hello, what are you talking about? But,
and held titles, by the way. Yeah,
right? Yeah, so getting to see that and just getting to see them experience joy and get their happily ever afters, I think we've just been so starved of that on screen. And, you know, I think that's why we are so in love with Bridgerton and why we want to see so much more from it.
Yes, I would. Well, I'll get into that when we talk about the, actually, we'll talk about that now because I'm going to skip me because I literally wrote articles on romance exclusivity that you can go read on RogerEbert.com.
Yeah, read a little bit.
Thank you. You can read about it on RIOTUS.com, which is our site. And so you can read about that. So I'm not going to waste time on my thoughts. But what I will say is that what I want, and I was talking to my friend Emmy, who's one of my neighbors, we were talking about the fact that she's like, where are the East Asian women? I was like, right, East and Southeast Asian women, where they at? Or people. And I'm like, give me a direct match for the Bridgerton family that's like their complete mirror, but it is an Asian family, you know, like it's a Chinese family, which would be really accurate. And we get to see that family and that lead and, you know, that Henry Golden. Yeah, I said it.
All right.
but you know, give us like, I would love to see a Bridgerton offshoot where it's not dependent upon the Bridgerton family, and therefore we can get any possible pairing. We can get disabled characters, which we still can in the main Bridgerton family, but I don't think they're going to do it. We can get more disabled characters, which is great to see disabled characters in season 3, part 1, by the way. There's a deaf lady. There is a lord in a wheelchair. We love to see it, but I want an offshoot that is like called like the tongue or the peerage or whatever, and we just get to see all of these matchups that Queen Charlotte created and how that goes forward. But then I also want to see it I want to see the Bridgerton universe in other eras. Like I want to see it in the Victorian era. I want to see it in the 1920s. I want to see a rom-com that takes place in the Bridgerton universe that's contemporary, where we get to strip away all of the racism because Bridgerton solved it. Thank you. And we just get to see people falling in love with problems that don't have to do with racism. or with, with religious persecution like so many of us people of color have to deal with. That's my future thoughts. That's what I want to see for the future. Also, marry Cressida Debling and give her a lady's companion.
Yes.
Okay, so Alex, what do you want for the future of Bridgerton? Or
yeah, I mean, I'd second all of that. I want more inclusivity. I want to see more of the disabled characters on screen. They were so great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want them to explore what happiness means beyond just, like, I know there's a lot of rules within that society, but getting to skirt those rules. I think they're starting to do it with, who's the character who owns the club?
Oh, Will.
Well, yeah, we're married, so we can do what we want. I'm like getting to see them all explore those rules and sort of make them their own. I think that would definitely elevate the next few seasons.
May.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, sharing your vision, love it. I would definitely watch a lot of, spin-offs of Bridgerton set in the world with different characters. That would be amazing. We could also get, like you said, more East Asian characters. I would love to see Arab characters be loved on screen.
Yes.
That would be amazing for me. And just like expanding the world and expanding the ton outside of just like the Bridgerton family, because we know there's so much more going on also, and maybe even getting to a little bit of the countryside.
Yeah.
Or any of that would be fabulous. Just more inclusivity. That's all I would really want. In terms of like Bridgerton itself, like main show, I would love to see what happened to Reynolds. Queen Charlotte. I would love for them to get to explore, like Lady Danbury's kids, maybe like introducing them at some point. That would be really cool. So yeah, just like there's so many opportunities I think that the show has, because it is a romance and an ensemble cast, and there's so many paths it can walk, and I'm just ready to receive.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. It would be really great to see Arab and Middle Eastern characters on this. And there's lots of space for that and some really beautiful ways that they can historically kind of lean on. Because let's face it, Bridgerton is a speculative show. It is sci-fi fantasy. I think we need to let everybody know that, first of all. But most, of course, historical romance is. I mean, most historical stuff is, because when we watch stuff that we've been given, it's completely lacking in people of color, which is nonsense. So yeah, I would love to see some of those elements, some of those culturals. Alex and I also said we want the countryside, and Alex, you said you wanted a holiday kind of Bridgerton.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, yes, give me a Christmas holiday special. It's worked well for these kinds of period dramas or whatever.
Yeah, and give it to us with, yes, and give it to us with like a cousin or in the Bridgerton neighbors in the countryside. Like, we don't need it to be that family. We have got that family locked down. But there's so much more to explore in the Bridgerton world, and it would be great to get the things that you both named. I definitely want it. I definitely think we can. I mean, they have made a lot of space for gay and queer romances. We haven't seen any ladies fall in love. So I do hope they go that route with Cressida. It would be nice to see. It was nice to see Eloise and Cressida have a friendship, which, like May said, none of us expected. What else, you guys? We're missing something. I know we are. What are we missing?
Let me think.
We've talked about most of the stuff. We talked about Violet. We've talked about getting to see Anthony and Kate again. Oh, what do you think then? We've got about 3 minutes left. Who do we think, or who do we want to be season 4? I mean, I already know, May, you want Benedict, so you...
Yeah. But I feel like I guess it depends, because if Bridgerton is canceled after season 4, like they declare season 4 is the end, I would want Benedict and Francesca to share the season together.
Oh, they're not going to. You think they're going to cancel? I don't think they're crazy enough to cancel it. Netflix cannot survive.
You never know, but I don't know. But I would love for them to go to season 6 at least, so we can get like a full Francesca season, a full Benedict season, a full Eloise season. If we skipped Hyacinth and Gregory, that's okay because they're still young. So, but like the elder siblings, I think we definitely need to get.
Now, I will
Hyacinth matchmaking series.
Yes.
Oh, yes, that would be great. She's so excited about everything.
If we could just have Ladies Hyacinth's matchmaking, that would be amazing. And we just get to have a whole season of her it's almost like a cozy mystery, but the mystery is how these two people fit together. Joy. You know what? Netflix, pay us. We would do it.
We will write that show.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know what to do with all of it. Just, hey, Shondaland, come see us. But yeah, that would be amazing to see. I forgot what
did Edwina marry the prince? This is what I need to know.
And Edwina and Frederick. They're me, Edwina and Frederick. I'm sorry to sound like that, you guys. I released my inner dragon. But listen, I want Edwina and Frederick, and if you don't give it to me, you're a sucker. But also, gosh, I keep forgetting what I was going to say. It keeps coming and going. But yes, Edwina and Frederick we need. And I forgot what the other thing was. I hope it'll come to me one time. Anything else that you guys want? We got about 1 minute and 15 seconds. Nothing? Well, there was something else I was going to say, and now it's gone. But I do want to see Edwina. I do want... I don't need Eloise to have her own season, but it's because I don't really like Eloise. Love the actress. Can't stand
Yeah, they would have to change. They would have to throw her book out the window. I don't want it. I want something new.
Yes, and they have to really develop her as a character because she's so condescending and disrespectful to absolutely everybody around her. And
I feel like she mellowed out this season a little bit because of everything last season.
I find it hard to root for her. I do. But, so that's our Bridgerton episode. We're going to come back for part 2, season 3, part 2. So don't worry about that. You've got us. This is Lady Whimsnicole and
Lady Maefield.
And Lady Bearmont.
And we shall return, but not tonight.
Dearest gentle reader, we have been apart for far too long. At last, London's fashionable set has made its return. And it seems that our bon ton is moving with the changing tide. So, too, is this author.
I cannot live at home any longer. I must take a husband.
Does my lady have a suitor in mind?
Is that our brother?
Colin?
Brother, under what foreign sun did you apparently get so sturdy?
Oh, it is good to see you.
Is it?
Something wrong?
Seems as though every Bridgerton was born to attract notice. For some of us, notice is very slight.
If a husband is what you seek, let me help you. Are we not friends?
Friends.
I should like to see your skills as they are first.
How delightful to see you all. The splendid weather we are having. I would not be angry if you found me to be a lost cause.
You must not say such things. You are Penelope Featherington. Do not forget that.
She's not seeking a husband in you, I hope.
No, I'm only helping her find one.
Since when are you worried about Penelope?